Tell us about Beehive of Healing.
What I love about it is the name.
Mm-hmm.
And the name, I think it's really profound because it's a hive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gathering of beings, B-E, beings, for the purpose of healing. We really look at the root cause of diseases such as chronic issues, neurological issues, and cancer in many forms.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and riches blessings. I usually say that when we open up a program because, first of all, peace is the dynamic of harmonizing good, and blessing means a confirmation of life, conferring life upon somebody, greater expression of life. So I'm conferring the awareness that peace is the dynamic of harmonizing good, and it's full to overflowing with life. I want that for you, which is why I have Take Back Your Mind. Which is why I have beautiful guests that from different points of the prism deal with how you can take back your mind, how you can transcend and embrace and overcome challenges, how you can be more yourself, how you can discover there's something about you that hasn't been touched by time or experience or other people's perceptions that you can tap into until it becomes more than a tap. It becomes a total immersion and you realize who and what you really are. And so I welcome you today to take back your mind. In a few moments, I'm going to be with Dr. Habib Sadeghi, beautiful medical doctor, spiritual practitioner, beautiful man. We've known each other for years. So right after Life Question of the Week, we'll be with the doctor. This question comes from Elisa, College Station, Texas. College Station, Texas. In the past, I experienced some difficult trauma that seems to have left my brain almost stuck in a loop of anger towards the abuser. And ruminating thoughts of past traumatic events seem to just pop up into my mind out of nowhere. Consequently, anger has been the emotion my subconscious mind quickly jumps to when a difficult or stressful situation arises or in my relationships. I attempt to push back those thoughts, which leave me feeling drained at the end of the day, and these thoughts also affect my meditation practice. Can you offer some guidance as to how I can transmute this energy? At least I love the word transmutation. First of all, thank you for writing in. I think that your question is going to help a lot of people. Your brain is stuck in a loop of anger. Anger comes after fear. So generally, when someone is angry, there's some underlying fear there that hasn't been dealt with. So when you talk about the abuser and some of the other traumatic events in your life, there's an underlying fear that hasn't been embraced and dealt with, so to speak. So then the go-to emotion from fear is anger. Now, it's a higher vibration than lethargy or depression, but still, when you're triggered, the anger comes up. Human beings have a tendency to, as you say here, push back these thoughts or repress or suppress. Repression is something that happens unconsciously. Suppression is something that happens semi-consciously. So when you're trying to suppress or repress these things, that energy doesn't go anywhere, which means it's still there, ruminating. And when an event shows up or a certain person shows up in your life and they say the wrong thing or act a certain way, it triggers the event that may have happened years ago, becomes in the present, and for you it comes out as anger. So it says it even affects your meditation practice. So one, you don't want to push back these thoughts. The idea of meditation or any yogic practice is to embrace the thought, embrace the emotion, to be with it. That's what yoga is. Yoga is not trying to get somewhere in the future with your yoga practice. The same with meditation, but I'm just using yoga as an analogy right now. It's not trying to get somewhere where you're like perfect in the future. You use yoga, whether you're in an asana or a particular position, whatever's going on at that moment, you're just with it. You're not trying to get away from it. You're just with it. And when you're with it, that's when transmutation takes place. If you're trying to run away from it, suppress it, repress it, then it gets stuck in the loop that you're talking about. So in meditation, you're not trying to push back those thoughts. Oh my God, I'm having this memory of X, Y, and Z happening. I don't want that memory, that I'm going to push it back. No. That's what's up for you at that moment. You sit with it and you embrace it. You look at what's coming up. Fear, anger, whatever the emotion is. Now the moment you're able to just sit with it, that's what's happening in present moment. It's not the totality of your being. It's not eternal. It's not real in the sense of your spiritual nature. But those thoughts are happening presently. So you sit with it. You embrace it. And then you go to the next level. You don't label it. You just become aware of the sensation of it. Now, as you're becoming aware of it and you're not labeling it, that's when it becomes transmuted. That fear that is now transmuting itself into anger becomes transmuted. You become liberated. You become free. You combine that with forgiveness practice toward the abuser and yourself. Without forgiveness of yourself, of forgiveness of the abuser or abusers, it continues to be a loop of blame or shame. Either blaming the abuser or you're feeling a level of shame because you were involved in a relationship in the first place. Be with the energy as it arises and then be with it without labeling it. This is in your meditation practice. And then the energy of it begins to transmute. You're not trying to transmute it. It does it on its own by you embracing and observing. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Meaning, whatever stage of consciousness they were in when they abused you, they couldn't do any better because they were not emotionally or spiritually mature enough to do better. You're not condoning the act. You're forgiving the being. They just couldn't do any better. And then you're having compassion and forgiveness on yourself for being in the situation in the first place. There's a lesson there somewhere for you. There's a lesson. You could even ask the question, what did I learn about myself being in that relationship? What lesson did I get from it? Harvest that lesson. Forgive yourself. Forgive the other. Embrace whatever's coming up without labeling it. And now you say, how can I transmute this energy? That's how you transmute the energy. A few months ago, I had some 8-hour surgery, some oral surgery. And the doctor says, do you want to break this into 3 parts? I said, no, I want to do it all now. I didn't go to sleep. They gave me anesthesia. The surgery was very intense. I stopped labeling it pain. I just said it was intense energy, and I just watched it. And then it was complete. And to this day, when I go to the dental office, the individual other dentists will run out to see me and introduce me, say, this is the guy that sat through all that surgery and didn't move. He looked like he was on a vacation. I just meditated, didn't label it was intense. I didn't label it painful, just energy. It was his energy. I'm not suggesting that for everybody. I'm just saying that in your situation, you can embrace, be with whatever's coming up, don't label it, and then watch as you become liberated. Forgive yourself. Forgive the abuser, that you may be free. Alicia, from College Station, Texas. I'd never heard of that place before, so you've given me something new in terms of geography. And you've given a lot of people something new by asking the question. Have a beautiful day. Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome back to Take Back Your Mind, our podcast that is dedicated to you taking back your mind, that it may be an avenue of expanded awareness of that which is real, that which is true. We're living in a day in which people are vying for your attention, and oftentimes people are trying to pull you, forces that be are trying to pull you into fear, doubt, negativity. They want you to have a bias towards that which is negative and live in that fear, which is a virus of the mind. We're dedicated to you taking back your mind so that your mind becomes an avenue of that which is beautiful, that which is real, the potential that's within you being activated so that you can live a meaningful life, not a life cowered in fear and doubt and worry and anxiety, but a life that's activating the potential within you that's bigger than any issue that we may be facing. I have Dr. Habib Sadeghi with me today. How you doing, brother?
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's always good to be in your presence.
It's always good to hang out. Listen, if you don't know who Dr. Habib Sadeghi is, let me tell you. He's the founder of the Beehive of Healing, an integrative medical center based right here in Los Angeles. He specializes in multi-disciplinary treatment for chronic illnesses that include osteopathic, anthroposophical, environmental, psychosomatic, family, and German new medicine, as well as clinical pharmacology. He served as an attending physician and clinical facilitator at UCLA Santa Monica Medical Center and is currently a clinical instructor of family medicine at Western University of Health Sciences. He's the author of 2 books, The Clarity Cleanse, 12 Steps to Finding Renewed Energy, Spiritual Fulfillment and Emotional Healing, and a book called Within, A Spiritual Awakening to Love and Weight Loss. He's a regular contributor to Goop, CNN, BBC News, and the Huffington Post, and is the publisher of the Health and Wellbeing Journal. It's a beautiful journal. Looks beautiful. MegaZEN. Dr. Habib, hey, I always wanted to thank you for getting me on that global citizen dynamic where I went with Chris Martin and everybody at South Africa, right?
South Africa.
That was a powerful day, man.
That was.
You know, I think that event, it was Jay-Z and Beyonce and a number of people that raised a lot of money for so many great people who have innovative ideas to save the planet, to serve the planet. Yeah, Is it true that almost $1 billion was raised?
Yes. That's my recollection. The most powerful part was when you were calling in the light with Chris Martin.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, before he goes on stage.
Right. Matter of fact, that was filmed. He called me to the side for us to pray together, and somebody caught that on camera. Yeah. And then we went in, and then Arne Batson sang. I prayed and spoke. And then Chris Martin went up and tore it up. And then it was a great day. But I just wanted to thank you for putting my name out there to go.
Well, your name is really a beacon of light, and for so many, it's just a lighthouse. Thank you for accepting the invitation and for going.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It's like, yeah, we're changing everything on the schedule. We're going to South Africa. It was beautiful.
Thank you for your flexibility. Yeah. You know, it was a last-minute ask. Thank you for honoring it.
It was great. It's one of the highlights of things that I think about. So I wanted you to be here with me. Give people a little bit of your backstory. I know you had kind of an awakening going through medical school that kind of shifted the trajectory of who you are, your practice, your purpose, and how you deal with people.
Yeah. You know, as you started communicating, I remember how much fear I was enveloped in, you know. We just talked about swimming and how I never really learned to swim until a couple of years ago when I was 51.
Wow.
And, you know, I had 3 near drowning experiences. And the third one, it was on top of Vernon Fall in Yosemite. And my girlfriend at the time literally jumped in to pull me out. And it took about an hour to be resuscitated and to come back. She's now my wife.
Okay. So you were unconscious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the cold and hypothermia, I froze. So I started sinking.
Right.
And I just didn't want to have that fear. I didn't want to have that virus, how you eloquently, you know, verbalized it. And I started swimming in the ocean.
Right.
And and the first 10 times it was just full panic attack.
Was somebody teaching you how to swim, or you just jumped in?
Oh, no. It was me, my son, and a coach that was taking us. And I just couldn't do it. I would go in, the water would be above my knee, and I would go into full panic attack.
Wow.
And I didn't really have my mind at the time,
right?
And it took a length of time to be able to really master that and use it as an opportunity of creating expansion within myself. That was really what the invitation was. I know you were in Chicago, but the invitation on Saturday was our 2-year anniversary.
Okay, of you swimming.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it's 3 of us started. Now there's over 60 of us.
Wow.
And it's just a group of people that they come in. A lot of them are just novice. Some of them, they've never swam in the ocean. They come in, they're frightened.
Of course.
And to be able to really face their fear.
Right.
Some of them come in believing that it's impossible. They can't do it. So over a period of time, they've learned to do that. And to do it without a wetsuit, just year round, to go in and to be with that. It's been life-changing for me.
Yeah, I have received your invitations. I think about it, and I say, swimming in Santa Monica, that's cold. Jamaica, yes. Costa Rica, yes. I did it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I grew up riding the bus down there, me and my buddies, and we would, at that time, go out and we'd touch the buoy. And we never leave the beach without touching the buoy.
Yeah.
Then come back. And in those days, you could actually see the fish swimming between our feet.
Wow.
But the pollution has become so bad, you don't see fish anymore in Santa Monica or even Malibu to that degree.
Yeah.
So when you invited me, I'm still thinking about it. But I may surprise you and show up one day.
You've been graceful. Thank you for the soft landing to my request.
Maybe I will. I have to, but I need to do the wetsuit the first time, though. But tell me, what happened in medical school that shifted your perception?
Yeah, it's that was many years ago, and it seemed like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And speaking of fear, I was diagnosed with cancer, with testicular cancer, and and being in that traditional model, framework, I chose to step outside of it and to treat it differently. I used it just like I used my fear of water and open water swimming, right? To be able to learn to swim there. To swim, what is this ocean of dis-ease and cancer?
Right.
Because I was trained as a medical doctor to fight it, to attack it, to get rid of it.
Yes.
Right. To to run away from it.
Right.
To run away from the waves. And it wasn't really until one day I recognized I'm running away from the waves. I'm actually dreading the waves. And then I saw how people were waiting for the waves to come in because they were going to surf it.
Right.
And I recognized that, wait, if they're looking forward to the waves coming in and I'm trying to get out of the ocean because the waves are coming, there was a mismatch. And I think it's the same way. Looking at the challenges that they come at us. And for me, at the time, back then, that was back in 1997, it was a big wave that I thought it was going to kill me.
Right.
But I didn't know the etiquette of how to really be with that wave. And I learned it over a period of a lifetime of how to go underneath it and let it wash over me. And
that's what you did with the cancer.
Yeah.
So it was a shift of mind first. What way of thinking changed and what actions changed?
Recognizing that the shift of mind had to occur first.
Right.
So anthroposophical medicine was started by Rudolf Steiner.
Yes.
Usually here when you tell people, they think you sneezed and something. It's not really popular, but it's a very profound and structured medical model. And one of the pillars within the anthroposophical medicine is that our consciousness precedes phenotypic expression.
Yes.
Our consciousness comes before a physical reality.
Yes.
So becoming aware that, wait, where did this cancer come from?
Right.
Why was it a testicular cancer?
Right.
Why was it in the left testicle?
Right.
All of that, to be able to do the archaeological reflection
Right.
and digging that's required for me to bring healing to it. That's really what saved my life.
So you did an internal exploration,
Literally.
and bumped into something within yourself.
Yes.
And
And that I bumped into was a wave.
Mm-hmm.
Was a wave of misunderstanding against my own sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
against some of very complex and challenging experiences as a kid
Mm-hmm.
that I had with an older relative.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to be with that, to be able to metabolize it, to process it, and to use it for my own upliftment, to learn how to surf, really, on many levels.
So what happened? The cancer disappeared? It dissolved? What, I mean...
Well, they were recommending various things. They were recommending chemotherapy.
Right.
They were recommending radiation.
Right.
All of which I've published in my last work, The Clarity Cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
All the medical documents from City of Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from removing the tumor,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any chemotherapy or radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm cancer free, and it's been years.
That's 1997, you said.
Right.
Right. And,
Right.
Right.
You know, they said that I would never have children,
Mm-hmm.
which is not true. You know, my beloved and I, we have 2 children, Hafez, 16, and Hannah, almost 10.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you went in, you found the waves, the blockages, you dissected it,
Yes.
came to a healing of that,
Yes.
transmuted it,
Yeah, allowed it to wash over me.
wash over me. So you cleared it from within.
Yeah. The rage that I was holding,
Yeah.
the anger,
Yes.
the guilt,
Yes.
the shame
Yes.
that I was holding against myself
Right.
and others.
Right.
All of that, it wouldn't let me breathe.
Right.
The way that perhaps we get caught in a wave.
Right. This is basic foundational metaphysical principles.
Yes.
That when someone comes to us for healing and they want to fix something out there, generally it's a reflection of something they're not dealing with inside.
Yes.
Something they're either running away from,
Yeah.
something they don't want to look at. And in your case, there was rage, probably some unforgiveness.
Yes.
All of that was going on. So that consciousness would then condense itself and manifest as dis-ease
Absolutely.
rather than ease.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you transmuted all of that.
Oh, yeah. The person who held that space for me
Right.
was my anatomy partner, Gary. And on my way here, I was speaking with Gary because he's dealing with a tumor in his left leg.
Wow.
And it's what we refer to in the medical jargon as sarcoma. It's a soft tissue that wraps around different muscles and bones and ligaments.
Right.
And as I was talking to him, I said, you know, Gary, you're also going to City of Hope.
Right.
And we talked about this idea of where did this come from? And it was really profound for him to reflect and to get to a place that he's looking forward to his surgery because he's recognizing that what's encased in that soft tissue, wrapped around different muscles and neurovascularity, it's the residual of what he hasn't worked out.
Yes.
It's actually a gift.
Yes. The knowledge you're sharing is beautiful, particularly coming from the medical model, from a doctor, I should say.
Yeah.
Because most doctors are not necessarily enlightened in this way. They're fighting a disease or doing pharmacological prescriptions.
Yeah.
When someone comes to see you, you add this to the dynamic of the conversation. Obviously, it's probably your first conversation with somebody.
Well, yeah, the
is to go in
consciousness.
with what's going on inside of you.
Yeah, the biography, where they came from.
Yeah.
It would be the same thing as what you do as a
Right.
minister.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
It's to see what was happening, upstream.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you get a sample of the water downstream and it's polluted and cloudy,
Right.
but what's going on up there?
Right. I remember having a friend that developed diabetes.
Huh.
And I asked her, I said, when did life lose its sweetness to you? And it woke her up, and she remembered some things that had happened at that time in her life. And the diabetes showed up.
Yeah.
And she was able to go back and realize exactly that moment when life was no longer sweet for her.
Yeah.
And then do the forgiveness necessary somebody had done something to her. It was, betrayal in many cases. And then subsequently her body started to heal again because, as we're talking about, they went in first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of diabetes, the very organ that produces insulin, right?
Yeah.
Pancreas.
Yes.
If you look at it under microscope, they're tiny little islands.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call them islands of Langerhans.
Mm-hmm.
And based on anthroposophical medicine, the consciousness that precedes the formation of a disease that we call diabetes,
Right.
it's when you feel that you're disconnected. You're like an island.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if this person, that life had lost its sweetness and they felt betrayed
Yes.
and disconnected and armored and separated from their community.
Right.
So the downstream effect is a lack of insulin or a depletion of insulin and diabetes.
Right. Right. And she's doing good now.
Great.
Yeah.
So, and which makes sense.
Yeah.
If you mind what's happening upstream,
Right.
downstream it's always taken care of.
Absolutely. Tell us about Beehive of Healing.
What I love about it is the name.
Mm-hmm.
And the name, I think it's really profound because it's a hive. Mm-hmm. It's a gathering of beings,
Mm-hmm.
B-E,
Mm-hmm.
beings, for the purpose of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for everybody.
Right.
There are people that they want to come in and they want to radiate, cut, right? Chemicalize whatever disease is that they're going through.
Right.
That might not be the right path for them.
Right.
But the people that they want to be more reflective and mind the upstream,
Right.
that might be an option.
Mm-hmm.
Where we really look at the root cause of diseases such as chronic issues,
Mm-hmm.
neurological issues, and cancer in
Yes.
many forms.
Right. Do you have bees there?
We do.
And so what else do you do?
We do.
At the Beehive?
So apitherapy, that's what you're referring to.
Right.
It's the usage of bees for the purpose of healing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't invent it. It's been around over 5,000 years.
Yeah.
And we have a hive. We actually have a little cage because you can't have a hive, just to be able to control the bees.
Mm-hmm.
And we use it for rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
We use it for multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And
MS.
multiple sclerosis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the bees, the actual venom has over 300 different active chemicals in it.
Yeah.
That it will completely shift and change the internal terrain and physiology of the patients, right? When you look at China, you look at Brazil, Egypt, even with cancer, the superficial cancer, they use bee venom therapy or apitherapy to be able to encase it and to control it. For infertility, it's been used for generations all over India, all over Asia, Orients in general. And now that we know the meridians, the acupuncture meridians and so forth, so to combine that with apitherapy, it's very profound.
And so you've had great results with MS?
Yes.
Great results with like prostate cancer or cancer period?
Right. So prostate cancer, it's very unique. In usually within Afro-American population, there is a higher percentage of prostate cancer. And based on my studies, environmental toxins has a lot to do with it and infections. And the way that we approach that is by doing an ultrasound of the prostate. And the person who actually used to do that is Dr. Duke Bond, had an institute called American Prostate Institute. He's retired.
Right.
And he trained Dr. Muasher that works at Beehive of Healing. So to be able to do the radiological studies through ultrasound and then look at the root cause of the disease. For instance, within the Afro-American patients, a lot of times you see a higher than normal level of heavy metals, such as arsenic, lead, mercury, cadmium. And if you look at that, you'll see that a lot of that has been passed down transplacentally from mothers to their children. And it was
Interesting.
never really looked at.
Wow.
That could be contributing to the higher than normal percentages of diabetes, cardiovascular disease such as hypertension, as well as prostate cancer or various different forms of cancers.
It's interesting. So if somebody comes to see you, do you still take a picture
Of
of the prostate?
if they have prostate issues,
Yes, we're
then
talking about.
so then they have an appointment with Dr. Moasher, and he does the ultrasound of the prostate, and then based on that, it could be an injection into the prostate in service of calming down the prostatitis or chronic
And this
prostatitis.
is injection of the bee venom?
It could be the apitherapy, or it could be various different chemicals depending on each individual person.
Do people come to do this kind of therapy as preventative medicine as well as something's wrong with them and you're trying to cure it?
Yeah, it could be both, right? The way that I look at it is we're all have a disease, and it's called life.
It's called life, yeah.
Right?
It's going to end one day in the body, that is.
Yeah, right. And part of the process of the longevity that we're looking for and the quality of life. And we're seeing how can we use this as an opportunity of a deeper awakening.
Right.
And learning through our ways. Right? So if I keep constantly bumping into this table, right? Instead of attacking the table, I get curious. Why is it here? And how is it serving me? And I think a disease is the same way. So some people come in for prevention and for longevity. Some people come in because there's a wave that's coming their way. It could be neurological issues such as MS or Parkinson disease or some mental health issues, infertility, or various different forms of cancers.
When did you start this clinic?
2005.
So it's been going on for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Your name is like really elevated in the community.
Oh, you're generous, but
what you do.
The intention is to be part of the community, and the community is the heart of it. And before we started, I was telling you about the swim thing. Now we have over 663 or whatever 4 people that they come swimming, but it's just beautiful, different ages,
Yes.
right, from 10 years old all the way into 80s.
Yes.
That they come in, right, and we all pair up, buddy up to go in, right? And the love that is palpable, and to be able to take care of each other. And then as cold as it is when you get out, you'll have a cup of chai, right? And you share about your experience. That's really what's missing, right? It's not really unlike agape or what you do on Sundays, right? It's creating that sense of community.
Oh, yeah. I've said over the years that authentic spiritual community grants you immunity from the lower frequencies of life.
Beautiful.
So when you're in community like that, and it's based upon love and kindness and just that whole feeling tone of respect, your vibration is lifted. The tonic chemicals start to soar. There is an immune system.
Yes.
Boost. All of that happens in community. You're not an island.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The politics of our immunity, it's everything, right?
Yeah.
The politics of our immunity, it's far more than just being forced or vaccinated, right?
Yes.
The politics of that immunity, it's about learning to relate the waves that's coming at you,
right,
and creating a connection and learning the etiquette of how to be with that wave.
Right.
And unfortunately, I didn't get that. I didn't get that growing up. I got it in the form of cancer, second year of medical school, right? And part of what you and your life has been about, it's really, for me, agape has been a medical school, right? It's which really create and cultivates how to have psychospiritual immunity.
Yes.
And I believe, as a medical doctor, that the psychospiritual immunity can really prevent, right?
Yes.
A lot of harm for us.
Yes.
The virus of fear,
Yes.
doubt that you talked about.
Right.
Right. And learning first, becoming aware that exists.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So much that when you go in to see a medical doctor and they have all these acronyms after their names, they're wearing a white coat.
Right.
They got these stethoscopes around. So automatically you think that they know more than you do, right?
Or more than your body, more
Your
than
body
your soul.
and your soul and a connection,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And they're giving you a diagnosis.
Right.
Now, that's the wave. That's when the wave starts.
Yes.
So how to be with that wave?
Right.
Do you feel like you can't breathe? It's over. You're gonna die unless you let them save you, or can you become a better surfer in this ocean?
Yes.
And learn how to be with those waves and actually develop skill set that now you can pass on to your next generation and people around you.
Because they're in you.
Yeah,
The
that's
frequency is there. You're passing on something higher. Absolutely. I love hearing this. I love hearing it from a medical doctor.
Yes.
Because sometimes I'll tell people that people think MD stands for minor deity. And then, as you say, that becomes a vibrational wave that the diagnosis then becomes a prophecy for a prognosis.
Yes.
I remember a man that came to see me a number of years ago. His name was Stuart. And he came to me in line. He was sweating and he was scared. He says, "Doctor says I have colon cancer, and my prognosis, I got 6 months to live." Reverend Michael, I said, "Stuart, a doctor can give you a diagnosis, but the prognosis is between you and God."
Yes.
And he woke up. He said, "What?" I said, "The prognosis is between you and God.
Yes.
The doctor can give you a prognosis as to how long you're going to live.
Right.
Are you going to just roll over and die in 6 months, or do you want to live more? It's up to you." And he's shocked, and then he came back and started talking to me. Anyway, he lived about 17 years longer. He was an elder guy, and every Thanksgiving, he would come to the Thanksgiving service at Agape and say, 10 years ago, I saw Reverend Michael. He told me the prognosis was between me and God. He gave his same testimony for the next 17, 18 years of his life.
What's coming forward, I'm just going to grab my cell phone because of what you said. I'm going to say something that I'm going to actually substantiate it. And because the Stuart story, just to keep his legacy and his courage alive, I'm going to actually read verbatim of this patient who was diagnosed with lung cancer. Now, this is verbatim, okay? I'm just going to read it. On February 3rd, 2013, Stamatis Moraitis, the dear grandpa of international media who did not remember his exact age, 98 or 102, passed away 36 years after doctors had diagnosed him with lung cancer. At the time, 9 other doctors confirmed the diagnosis and had given him 9 months to live. Moraitis was a Greek immigrant to the United States. Like so many others, he worked hard and built a new life in the new world. A cancer diagnosis and 6 to 9 months to live in 1976, as well as the high cost of funerals in the United States, convinced him to pack his bags and head back to the islands of his birth to spend what he thought would be his final months alive. He refused chemotherapy and medication that was prescribed by his American doctors and chose a different therapy, nature, his community, and some good old-fashioned brew of his very own. All he cared about was his garden, his parents' vineyards, and his homemade wine. Not enough, he says jokingly, to be considered an alcoholic, just 2 or 3 cups a day. 6 months went by, and he didn't die. Not only that, but he felt stronger, and his health actually continued to improve. He ended up living almost 40 years after his doctor prescribed expiration date. He died peacefully and not from cancer on February 3rd, 2013.
He did not allow the diagnosis and the prognosis to become his destiny.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so many of us, when we go and we see someone in a white coat,
right,
and they give us all these statistical analysis,
right,
and what they're really injecting in our consciousness is a virus.
Right, it is.
Virus of fear,
right,
virus of doubt, lack of hope, despair that pushes us over the edge.
And it absolutely creates the statistics that they're basing their prognosis on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I shared this when I was doing a documentary with the movie Heal. There was a woman that came to see me a number of years ago, and she was sharing, I can't remember what the issue was right now, but she said her doctor had told her X, Y, and Z. So I said, can you excuse me for a moment? She said, yes. So I went outside, and I had a white coat. I came in with my white coat, and I had a little pad, and I wrote down some affirmations for her, and I wrote down some things I wanted her to say to herself. I said, I want you to read this 3 times a day and say it out loud. I want you to read it in the morning when you wake up, and I want you to read it at night before you go to sleep. First of all, do you want to live? No, do you really want to live? Yes? Okay. I said, so here's the diagnosis and the prognosis based on if you do this. Had my white coat on. Anyway, she eventually transcended the name of the disease and went on to live. And she's still alive today. A very beautiful life. But I put on a white coat. And just assumed the energy of it and said, I'm going to give you something else.
The power that we have.
Right.
And we've seen it. We've seen it when this power of the white coat, it's misused, right? We know the story of OxyContin and all these pain medications, how they were intentionally, made. You get heroin. Right. And you infuse it and you turn it into M&M. And you tell people, and then you give the false statistics that it's not as addicting. And we know the epidemic, the horrific.
All for profit.
Absolutely. We know that. We know their internal documents of the HPV vaccine, that was brought forward by Robert Kennedy. That HPV actually doesn't stand for human papillomavirus vaccine. In their internal email document, it stood for help pay for Vioxx.
Really?
That their company, their bean makers counters, they knew exactly how many people would die, even when they were caught. And they pushed all these medications that killed so many people. Right? So it's the same white coat that we're talking about. It's the same industry. Right? And I'm here, and I'm not wearing a white coat, and I came in my T-shirt and my jacket, because I'm holding this space for a different medical model. A medical model that you use it for good. You use it, you sit down, you look at another human being, and you say, look, you got some medical challenges. Let's be reflective. Let's see what the emotional component of what you're going through is like. But let's start eating healthier. Let's start cleaning up what's inside your pantry. Let's increase your physical activity. Let's have you drink some water. Let's have you go outside and enjoy nature. Right? All this stuff that it's really free and God's given. Right? And there's no trickle-down economy. No one makes money off of it. Right?
Let's talk about your books, because you're talking about some of the things in your books. The Clarity Cleanse. Let's break that down, because you have some fine points in there.
Yeah, the Clarity Cleanse, it's a very challenging book. It's incredibly challenging because the first book, Within, was very soft.
Let's start there first. Let's start with Within.
Within, I wanted to pick a medical model that no one would come at me, right? Because I tell you, when you talk the way that we've been talking, and the linguistic abstraction and the Wi-Fi and the vibration that we're putting out there, it brings a lot of less than positive. It could bring up, right?
Well, it makes people uncomfortable moving them out of a particular paradigm that they were raised in.
And hypnosis.
They've been hijacked. And we're saying, well, there's another way of thinking. There's another way of living. At least explore outside of your present paradigm. At least explore it.
What you just said, it took me into the movie What the Bleep We Know.
Oh, yeah, right.
And, we can see the boats right on the ocean, right? But most people couldn't see it. Because they couldn't comprehend that things could float on water. Right?
Didn't even see it.
So a person needed to go in at the time, their leader need to go in and to just stand there until this thing would pop up. Right? Or in 1960s when United States wanted to bring some of the Tibetan monks from Tibet to train them in, I think, Colorado Springs, they were frightened. They weren't going to get on an airplane because they couldn't understand what an airplane was.
Right.
And they didn't even have it in their language.
Right.
So someone need to come in. I think they came and they called it airboat. And it's like, it's an airboat. Now there was a language, there was an understanding. Cognitively, they had the valence to be able to hold it.
Right.
They got on the plane.
Right.
So here is the same. It's the same concept. So within was I used a medical model that was relatively softer and it doesn't attract as much tension, which is weight release. And instead of counting calories and you eat this food or that food, we looked at just using self-love, self-acceptance, and self-forgiveness. And it has a 40-day model that you go through and you do the exercises that helps you releasing the excess weight. Right. And it's a very anthroposophically oriented approach where it comes, if you mind your consciousness, your phenotypic expression, your body will handle itself. If you mind upstream, downstream, it will not be as cloudy. Right. Just clean that up. Right. So, but the clarity cleanse was, the gloves came off. So it was a little bit more confronting.
Let's go back to the previous point about mining upstream. There was a group in the Bay Area. It's for the weight loss. They would bring in people and they would ask them what their favorite foods were. Spaghetti, whatever it was. And they told them during this month they could eat as much as they want. And they had all kinds of food. You can eat anytime. And the only thing they did with these people, they taught them how to meditate and go into deep levels of self-love and appreciation. They lost weight.
That's it.
They didn't stop eating their favorite foods. They had a start date and they weighed themselves. And they had to do physical exercise and things like that. And they had the end date and they couldn't believe they lost as many pounds as they did eating what they wanted to eat, but just changing their mindset. It was meditation, it was affirmation, it was talking to each other in very loving ways and then absorbing the self-love and appreciation. And they started to lose weight. This is what you're talking about.
I love that. See, and I think my mom was right. Sauce always makes everything feel good, right? The sauce of perception. The sauce of gentility and kindness instead of attacking ourselves. And as we eating what we're eating, we attack ourselves. That I shouldn't be doing this, feeling guilty, the shame. If you remove all that, the overeating stops. Right? Because this insatiable appetite, a lot of the times it comes from what you just said. What's missing? Where's the sweetness? When actually did life stop being sweet? Right. Bringing that level of mindfulness, it shifts our palates, not only in terms of our appetite, but in terms of what we choose to mind. Right.
You're not eating emotionally. No, you're eating because it's good for you. Tastes good. And then your mind can turn even some things that are bad. I'm not advocating this.
I hear you.
But even things that you think you shouldn't eat, it turns it into really good stuff.
That's what this story of this Greek man was about, right? I'm not, advocating alcoholism or this or that. That's not what we're talking about, right? What we're talking about is in 1976, he was given a prognosis of death in 6 months. And he lived 40 years later, after all the doctors that they had diagnosed him, or in this case, misdiagnosed him, he died of an old age of 98 or 102, but not from lung cancer. Right? So the possibility of what we can access when we are loyal to our own soul.
To our own soul. I did it. That was the title of one of my talks. Be loyal to your own soul.
That's it.
This is powerful. The fact that, this gentleman you talked about, Stuart, and we know other people as well. I had a niece that was 3 weeks from passing over, and my daughter came and said, "Can you help her?" And anyway, she's cancer free today. But if it can happen for one person, That means the potential, use the word potential. The potential is that anyone can create those conditions
Yes.
for harmony and wholeness and well-being to emerge.
Yes.
There aren't like special people.
Oh, no.
It is people who put themselves or create the right environment.
Oh, yeah. You could use your own search engine of your choosing.
Right.
The medical jargon for it is spontaneous remission.
Yeah.
We're very good at it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying there's a possibility,
Right.
if you actually do these things, you create the potential, right?
Right.
We just call it spontaneous remission. But what is it? It just evaporates. How could the tumor just evaporate?
Right.
Right? If they wanted to flay me open, right, a 16-hour procedure at the time, and they were prescribing 4 cycles of cisplatin chemotherapy and then radiation, and I didn't do it, and I'm still alive.
Right.
Wait.
You beat the odds. It was
See,
spontaneous.
right. But, did being reflective, releasing the guilt and the shame against myself and the perpetrator against me.
Right.
If I'm carrying all these coal and I want to throw it at them, but the first person that's going to get burned, it's me.
Yes.
It's me. So letting that down.
Right.
Right? All of that, but it's not within the medical model.
Right.
It's like you need chemotherapy, you need surgery, you need radiation, you need a special procedure, or you need medication for the rest of your life.
Right.
It's no one talks about consciousness.
No. Right. Consciousness precedes everything. Now jump into the clarity.
Clarity cleanse.
Clarity cleanse.
It's a very difficult book. It's difficult because it's confronting.
So what does it mean to have clarity?
Very good. The cover of the book is everything. If you just look at the cover of the book, you don't even need to read the book. The cover of the book is just an empty cup. And the idea is, when we started, I shared with you about my friend Gary, my anatomy partner, who became my cup, who became my container during my experience of going through cancer. Right. And here I am, I'm coming in, and on my way, I'm calling Gary for preparing him for his surgery on Thursday at City of Hope. You see, the fullness and the intelligence of life.
Wow.
That the patient, right, now is tending to the doctor. Right. So part of the process, this idea of containment, this idea of having another human being that can hold space for you. Growing up, if we're lucky, and I wasn't one of the lucky ones, we have a parent or a set of parents that they do that for us. That when the wave comes, right, they hold space and they say, hey, don't run away. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to just take a deep breath, dive in, make sure your head is down so the wave will touch your feet and bring you back up, right? That's called containment.
Right.
So then as we go through life, we'll be able to pass this on, not only live from a place of being a contained, mature, sophisticated human being, but we can pass this skill set on to other people.
Right.
I didn't have that.
Right.
So, going to medical school, the greatest lesson that I got was my experience of sitting across Gary and saying, hey, I just came back from Loma Linda. I'm screwed. This is what's happening to me. And in this Mexican restaurant, Gary looks at me and he tells me his story. And his story of being sexually abused, having gone to jail, having a heroin addiction, and all of that he overcame, he cleared, and now he's medical school, right? I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I got my appetite back, right? And I'm like, wow, I can actually go through this.
Right.
This wave, it's not coming to kill me.
Right.
This wave is coming because the very reason that millions of resources have been invested in my creation to be here, it's for me to learn how to become a surfer.
Right.
So I don't need to run away from this wave.
Yeah.
And that changed my entire life.
Right.
And that's really the story of the clarity cleanse, of how to create a cup for ourselves if we don't have it in our lives. When cancer comes,
Right.
when an addiction comes, when divorce comes, when a loss of job comes. You know, one of the things, I will always say yes to you, and here's why. Because I think I've had the privilege of being with you and interviewing. This might be either the third or the fourth time. I have never received so many letters from jails except with you. And all these letters would come in. And that really touched me, that someone that is currently incarcerated somewhere, and there is, that there may have lost hope,
Yes.
or be in a dark place,
Yes.
or there might be a significant level of guilt or shame coming at them,
Right.
that they're listening to your show,
Yeah.
and you actually are that lighthouse. And they're wherever they are, and it's tumultuous and stormy, and they may not find or see the light. See, that's why whenever you've asked, I said, with pleasure, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you coming through here. So we have within Clarity Cleanse, you're bringing people to a greater understanding that there is a resource or a source that we call a resource that's within them.
Yes,
And to stop looking out there. But the inside here will bring you to what you need.
absolutely.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
I love the word resource, right? The prefix re, again,
Yeah.
and source.
Yes.
You're the source again.
Again.
Just
yeah.
remembering
Yeah. I
that.
brought that up for you.
Right. Just remembering that.
I gave you a little.
You know,
little
just remembering that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, this has been great.
It's my privilege. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the light that you hold all these years for all of us,
Thank you.
and for your being.
And back at you.
Thank
You
you.
vibrate so high. It's great. Any last words you want to say to the wonderful people out here?
I love you. God bless you.
Oh,
Peace
tell them how
be
they can
still.
be in touch with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beehiveofhealing.com. B-E, 1-E, hive, H-I-V-E, of healing.com. And I'm also on Instagram, Dr. Sadeghi. And for past 3 years, Arne Bateson. I've been taking a sabbatical from social media, and I requested Arne Bateson
Right.
to start a sunny day Sunday school. So on Sundays, she goes and puts content and sings a gospel song. But I will go back on social media.
Arne Batson, many of you know, is one of our great singers here at Agape. And she's a very powerful being. And she was in South Africa with me. We traveled together at that magnificent event that he invited me to. Beautiful. Thank you.
It's my privilege. Thank you.
I know you got a lot out of this. Tell your friends about this. Tell your friends about Dr. Sadeghi. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. And welcome back, as we always do. I think it's very important. We have a few moments of meditation. Meditation allows you to be with yourself wherever you are, whatever mood you may be in, whatever your interiority is looking like in the moment, whatever is in your sky of mind, whatever is on your emotional palette, you can just be with it. Oftentimes people are trying to have a perfect meditation. My mind has to be totally clear, and I have to be totally happy, or something to that degree. No, wherever you are, and whatever's going on in your life right now, is great grist for the mill. It's great material for meditation. So whether you're having a feeling of total connection, or whether you're having an emotional feeling of, I'm not having a good day, doesn't matter. You go into your meditative practice anyway, and use everything you're going through as wonderful fuel for transmutation. Put your feet on the ground as to close the outer eyes. Establish an intention to wake up from sleepwalking. Just say that to yourself. I'm ready to wake up from sleepwalking. I'm ready to wake up from being lost in time and space. I'm ready to wake up to that which is eternal and forever. That's our intention. Allow for your attention to embrace that intention and the feeling tone of that. I'm ready to wake up. And notice that the body is breathing. The body is breathing in present moment. It can't breathe in the future. It can't breathe in the past. The body temple is breathing presently. So with your intention to wake up, in your attention around your intention and the breath, you are presently embracing your intention and staying right here. Whatever mood you may be in is just a part of the fabric of what you are aware of. There might be glee, there might be sadness, tiredness, whatever. You're not trying to push it away, sublimate it. You're not trying to enhance it if it's glee or happiness. Right now, today, you're just with it. Just aware of it and with it. Begin to notice that whatever is passing through your sky of mind, it's not you. It's just something passing through. Who you are is that which is aware of what's passing through. Aware of the content of your emotional body. You're with it. And you're witnessing it at the same time. Quietness of this moment, we accept that we are waking up to our infinite potential and our glorious nature, who and what we are, an emanation of the presence of intelligence and love and beauty. And our day is colored with this awareness. We give thanks for this and allow it to be so. And so it is. Amen. As you slowly open your eyes, we just had a brief moment in which we gave permission for the eternal to break into time. Thank you. thank you so much for your kind comments. You're asking me how to support the podcast. And as I've been mentioning before, you may support the primary sponsor of the podcast, which is Agape International Spiritual Center. AgapeLive.com is the website. You may make a donation. You may even put in the donation podcast. Thus, you are in support of the podcast as you have asked. The secondary sponsor is NutraRise. They produce my product, which is AdaptoZen, ADAPTOZEN. AdaptoZen, superfoods, greens, 47 different plant-based ingredients, organic, probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, and so much more. A scoop, tastes so good. Vitamin D3K2, essential for a healthy body. Let's go to NutraRise. You know those 3 lines that you see when you go to a place? You hit that, and AdaptoZen will pop up. And you can get your bundle. You can subscribe to it. Health is your wealth. Have a beautiful day. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.